Welcome to Great Talking Entertainment. I'm your host, KJ, and this is the YouTube channel where I review movies and TV shows from my favorite superheroes, including Marvel Comics, DC Comics, and much more. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talking Entertainment official channel. Now let's go, baby. Welcome back to the YouTube channel, everyone. My name is KJ, and today's video is my spoiler review for the new series, Season 2 of Daredevil Born Again. This is Episode 2, spoiler review. So if you have not seen this show yet, please pause this. But before you go, could you hit the thumbs up button, aka the like button? That would help my YouTube channel out, and I truly appreciate that. Come back and let me know what you think about Season 2 of Daredevil Born Again, Episode 2 in the comments below, because I would love to hear your opinion about it. Did you love it? Did you hate it? And what are your Marvel theories about this show? So again, this is a spoiler review. Y'all been warned? Now, let's get into it. This episode continues on from the last episode where they were left off, as the retired detective Jerry is rushed to the hospital due to a heart attack. And we see Daredevil up on the top of the building watching and just looking like a badass in this thing. And then the episode cuts to Bullseye at the church looking for Sister Maggie. And remember, if you guys remember this, which you should if you're listening to the spoiler review, that Maggie, Sister Maggie, I should say, is the actual mother of Daredevil, Matt Murdock. And we haven't seen her. We haven't seen her yet for a while, so it's nice to see her. And this young kid asks Bullseye what's he looking for, and he explains that he's just looking for forgiveness, wants to confess his sins. The young kid explains to him that he's not official. He doesn't have the right education for it, and he hasn't done the right training for that. So, but he's like, Bullseye, Dexter is like, well, I'll take anybody, really. So, and that's how it goes. And you know what I like? I just want to point out, through this episode, when it comes to the three characters, Bullseye, a.k.a. Point Dexter, Daredevil, a.k.a. Matt Murdock, and the Kingpin, a.k.a. Mayor Fisk, they all have their, color light. We see here it's Bullseye's is blue, right? When he's talking to that kid, you can tell, that's the color, because he's focusing on the target. That's why Bullseye never missed. He hits the target, right? He could have got that kid, and as far as I know, that he didn't hit the kid, but he could have. With Kingpin, it's like a white light, where it's like his suit's all white. And it's interesting too, in this between episode 2 and 3, I believe, maybe it's in episode 3, but he finally he does switch up color of suits. He goes from white to black, black to white. But in this episode, he definitely obviously wears white. So you see a white light surrounded Kingpin, because he's trying to look innocent. He's the victim, right? He's the hero. And then obviously Daredevil is red. And I just like the fact that these are these light colors for them. And I think that's cool, because it obviously it looks visually cool, but also just points out even Mayor Fisk, he's trying to cover up the fact that he's a criminal and that he's a drug lord type crime mob dude. And so in a way, he's like a vigilante, or a guy who wears a mask too, but instead of wearing an actual mask, he's just pretending to be the hero, the nice guy, the good, not corrupted politician. That's why you have the white light, and I like that detail with him. And with Bullseye, it's like that's just his like famous Marvel comics color. And you see that with the suit because when you see him again, every time he shows up to assassinate somebody, it's always blue. And like even with Daredevil, like he's wearing an all black suit, but it's red. Like his background's always gonna be red. Like, and so with that being said, again, like they're all having like an identity crisis in the way. Like I, it's neat too because this season you're seeing the build up. Like we're gonna see them embrace who they are, and when they embrace who they are, that means like us, the fans, the viewers, are gonna see these characters look more to the comic books of how people recognize these Marvel characters. So when those colors show up, it just always reminds me there's a build up to the next thing. And this is kind of like a character, like you're seeing more in depth with the character in a way. But they're in a different time, like not a timeline, but right now the situation calls all three of them to do something that's a little out of place, out of character in their way. Like it doesn't really match them. Here's an easy example to what I mean by that is right now in this situation, Matt Murdock can't just be Matt Murdock and do his job like a regular day, which he's a lawyer, but he hasn't got any clients. He can't help run his firm with Kristen, right? Or Christine McDuffie. And this is kind of like it's just typical superhero stuff where he can't balance out two different lives. So as of now, it's like Matt Murdock's missing, but he's really not missing. He's just hiding and being Daredevil full time. So he can't really do his lawyer job, do his job pretty much that he went to college for, literally college for. And so he's out of place. And that's why the suit's black. He's in like stealth mode basically. And for Bullseye, he's gone rogue. Like he's out of place. Like he's been heartbroken by Vanessa Fisk and Kingpin. He's also he's kind of like untamed. He's a loose cannon. Nobody knows what he's going to do, and he has a whole different plan. He has a whole different perspective of this whole situation, and we don't know where he stands, and he's like a mystery. Like, he's showing up, but we're seeing, like, him just leaving clues, and he's writing stuff on his, like, knives that he throws or whatever. And so he's there and he's not there at the same time. So he's like he's like a mysterious right now, and we don't know where he's going with this until we probably get to the end of the season, obviously. But that's what I like about just small details like that, and I just like how those lights represents that in a way, because they're like, again, all three of these characters are just out of place, and they're supposed to be because of this situation. So I just want to point that out and thought that was really, really cool. Now, also in this episode, too, we see that Daredevil and Karen are off to find the other person that was on the Northern Star ship, where they had, like, the weapons and stuff that they want to expose the Kingpin with. But they're going to have to go find him first before, Kingpin's AVTF, task force comes and takes him. And I tell you what, that task force is definitely art imitating life right now. And it's so close to what's going on since last year and this year. I mean, my God, like it's kind of like we're living in a world somewhat like this, right? And then to also make this tough too, is that there was an idea suggested that Kingpin should make a live public announcement and tell the New York citizens, tell the world that Daredevil and Matt Murdock are actually the same person. And what's interesting too, because Mr. Charles wasn't in this episode, and he wasn't in the third episode too, just to get everybody a heads up. But what I liked about it, because I was thinking about Mr. Charles when this scene happened, is Kingpin is hesitant to it. But he's very smart. He switches it up, and he's like, hey, he makes the public announcement video that Matt Murdock is missing and he needs help to find him because he's a hero to him, because he helped save him from being assassinated by Bullseye, right? And what I like about this scene too, and this is just something like a behind the scenes type thing, but I like the vibes and the way that camera panels into the two characters' face in this scene. And both characters were showing like emotions, and they were reacting to the conversations that we were having. Like the guy was like, hey, you should just tell the world that Matt Murdock is Daredevil. And you see the facial expression when that guy told him that. It was very serious. It was very smooth. And then the way Kingpin reacted, he was kind of like he was kind of like shocked in a way, like whoa, like that's not a good idea type thing. And he seemed a little annoyed by it, and it kind of showed another side of Kingpin, like a softer side to Kingpin. Like he's like, this is, to me, it's like showing Kingpin has like unwritten rules that I don't think he would cross. And that's shocking because we know Kingpin will cross some lines. But what I mean by that, because I'm just, like I said earlier about Mr. Charles, who was not in episode 2 or episode 3, is that this sets up the point where maybe Mr. Charles is willing to cross those lines in the unwritten rules that Kingpin himself kind of follow. Just think about it. He doesn't want to reveal that Matt Murdock is Daredevil because of the fact, like, he respects Daredevil for what he stands for, even though he stands for the complete opposite of what the Kingpin stands for. But he respects the way he stands for that other side of quote-unquote justice. And again, we know that Kingpin has already decided, like, okay, when we get this ship situation fixed, they're all getting killed off. They're gonna eliminate them, right? Like, maybe, I don't know how they're gonna do it, but they're gonna do it. And that's the important thing. Is I just like the way that camera paneled into that to show that reaction, right, between the two. And even when the scene, again, there's this big bright white light, obviously the ring lights, and there is a camera, and Kingpin is putting on this act. He's, again, like I said, he's not actually being his true self. or the monster that he is. And so the camera panels in, zooms in onto the camera that Mayor Fisk is talking to the people, and then it goes to Dan, and he puts on this innocent smile. But what I love about that is you can tell that Kingpin, from the viewers, not the characters. Well, okay, yes, the characters, if you were thinking about BB, but you can tell that Kingpin's smile is not real. It's very hollow. It's very empty. It has no real heart. It has no real concern, no love. But it's so convincing enough that it's going to work. So now people are worried. So this kind of messes up too. Not kind of, but does mess up how Matt Murdock and Karen during the day can sneak around and try to get information and see what they're smuggling, which is weapons. That's why they're hiding and on their knees, hiding behind crates. They're trying to spy, and they can't get really too close because now the whole world knows Matt Murdock is missing, and he's a blind man, and he's confused. And so it really makes it more challenging for the two. And so now this inspires Daredevil to go do this at night, obviously. But I just like the New York Hell's Kitchen is so hot right now. It's very intense. Now everybody's involved. People are delusional about this. Right? And it shows who's divided between this. So I really like that. And again, this also too, I can tell the character that Mr. Charles is, whoever he's going to be revealed to be his actual name and the actual character he could be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is going to be very interesting, because I would say the way Kingpin is not going to reveal that Matt Murdock is Daredevil, that shows weakness. And I think Mr. Charles is going to use that on Kingpin at some point. Maybe episode 4. Who knows? So that's why I think that's really cool. Now, also in this episode, we see that Daniel and Sheila are arguing about whether they show Mary Kingpin the video of BB, who is making these cryptid videos of some sort, and whoever this person is wearing a Halloween costume mask of the Kingpin, they're getting these leaked videos and stuff, and they're making it, and Daniel, who is, you're slowly seeing him become more corrupt, and I think he wants to become Kingpin. And it's very weird. I think he's getting so confident and a little cocky because Kingpin has rewarded Daniel so much that I think he's gonna become, the student becomes the teacher. He thinks that this is gonna help him take the same spot that Mayor Fisk has. So one day Daniel could run for mayor and become mayor of New York. I think that's why we're seeing that. And he's gaslighting Sheila, but I don't think she's buying it, because she went and told Kingpin, and of course Kingpin ain't happy about these videos, but he was just like, oh, it's on video, it's on the internet, it's very underground, it's some guerrilla shit type thing. And he's not like a smart guy, but he's trying to act like he has everything under control. And he's like, well, the big media hasn't picked it up. And later in this episode too, we see that Kingpin's task force decided to take out Jerry, Daredevil, and Bullseye, and we see that Cole North has rejoined the task force. Now, this is very interesting with that because we got Daniel here, right? He's slowly trying to, in his mind, he thinks, he's going to get the throne one day in his way. Like, he's going to be very successful, and he thinks he's definitely the protege, which, in Heather Glenn's mind, he's probably like the jester. The joke is he thinks he might be in place, but he's not. And then we got this task force who is more locked in on taking more action and being reckless, and they don't care about who they hurt, who sees it. They want to put the fear in people. They want to look tough and be badasses, and they want to, when they show up, they want everybody to run so they can catch them. And they don't want to arrest Daredevil. They don't want to arrest Bullseye. They just want to eliminate them. But also too with Cole North, he rejoins, which is very interesting. And the only thing I can see is he's going to become the loose cannon of this task force. He's going to screw up, and they're going to have to cover up his mess up. I think people are going to see an uglier side of the task force of Mayor Fisk, and it's going to be because of Cole North. And I think he's going to be the loose cannon because he seems reckless, and the main guy of this group, he seems hesitant. That's what I just think. I just think he's going to be the loose cannon who's going to do something that even the task force was like, whoa, you went too far. The wrong people witness it, and now they got to find a way to cover it up and make them look innocent and make them look like they were just doing their job, right? And they got to find some loopholes. But I think it's going to be more challenging because I think, again, he's the loose cannon of this thing. That's how I think they're building it up with that. So also in this episode, we see Bullseye taking out two of the men who were hunting, who was ready to hunt Jerry. And they were being dicks, right? About them, and the other retired detectives or cops were protecting Jerry while they're in the hospital. And, he took him out. And again, I love when that whole elevator scene just went blue and he knocked him out, murdered him. And I'm just like, dang. But then also in this episode too, we see Kingpin has to remind Daniel he better not betray him or keep secrets. And again, like I said, now we're seeing Daniel, I think he's looking up to him like a father figure now. And so Kingpin is talking to him like a father, but also letting him know, hey kid, I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty. I'll choke you out, throw you out this window type situation. Whatever he's got to do, because if Daniel screws up, his life is on the line. But he's using this to manipulate Daniel and to motivate Daniel to do better. And he's like, I'm going to do better. I'm going to get everything done. And Daniel's trying to keep it cool and stuff, but it's just not going to work. And also in this episode, too, we see Vanessa. I think she's just plotting. She's just plotting something, and this shows, and teases that Vanessa might turn on Kingpin. because I feel like she's doing the mother story. They're doing the motherly story, where some of these men are gravitating to Vanessa because she's very calm and soothing to them, and it motivates them so they feel comfortable. But she's saying the exact same thing that Kingpin wants his men, his task force, his people to do, but she just says it very smoothing, very calming, very motherly like. And this is a way where they're probably going to be more loyal to Vanessa when it boils down to the end versus being loyal to Kingpin, because Vanessa is mothering them. You know, Kingpin is very harsh, he's very violent with it, and he's very loud with it, and he's trying to scare them. Vanessa over here is very, again, she is literally encouraging them, saying kind words to them, you know, telling them they're doing such a good job. And then they just melt and want to follow her. You know, she's literally like Medusa of the MCU, but not Medusa, because there is a actual Medusa in the MCU, so we can't really compare her to that character, but something like that. So I really like that. And again, I think there's so many ways you can go with this, but also her situation too is that soon she would have to come face to face with Bullseye. And that to me is the story that's probably going to be building up. But at least, like I said, the people within Kingpin's circle, they're going to take the front line and try to take on Bullseye, which is a bad decision for them. But they're going to die for Vanessa Fisk, because that's how much they really are getting closer to her, and they're starting to like her more, and subconsciously they rather her be the leader of this whole thing, run this whole operation basically, because they like her more, because she's nicer about things. So there's that building up too. Now, also too, in this episode we see Angela, aka White Tiger. She is walking with her aunt at this store, and some of her neighborhood kids that she knows are stealing at the store, and the store owner pulls out a firearm, and he's like, "Put that back, I'm getting tired of you kids." You know, and sadly they all get arrested besides Angela by the task force, because Angela's aunt grabbed the task force by the arm and said, "Oh, that's assault." So everybody got arrested and locked up at that Red Hook facility place. And again, this is crazy. This is art imitating life. Like, you know, somebody was just trying to do the right thing, and like somebody stepped in and took it too far. You know, yeah, the store owner probably shouldn't pull out that firearm. Yeah, those kids were being brats. They shouldn't be shoplifting, especially in these times in this show. And yeah, Angela's aunt should have been smarter about that. But you know, this is what I like about this is there's people and there's characters in this show who are very rebellious against Fisk, and they don't have the superpowers. Not Angela, she don't have it yet until she puts on that necklace and suit. But we haven't got to that point yet, and that. But I like it because she's wearing a white hoodie, so it's kind of like they're teasing it. Like she's getting closer, and she'll become a superhero. So that's pretty cool. But it was really sad just to see everybody get arrested for something that the task force, a regular police officer, could have just handled it, you know. But that's what art is imitating life in this city. And I really like it. I know they don't like to come out and publicly say it, the writers, the directors, everybody a part of that show. They don't like to go out in the media scrums or do interviews and admit that, but they're admitting it through this season. So I thought that was pretty cool. Now, also on this episode, we found out that BB is the one that's wearing the Halloween mask of Kingpin, and this tells me that there's two things that could happen. One, Daniel might become the Richard Fisk of the MCU, or a version of it by his other names that Richard Fisk goes by as like the Schemer, Rose, or Blood Rose. And obviously, we don't know that, but that's a far fetch. I honestly wouldn't go with this. The second thing I believe that I could see is Daniel is going to just become corrupt. I think that he's going to go too far. And they just could be foreshadowing his death at this point. But just for the fact that there's only two ways they can go with this story. And if I was just thinking, the more realistic way is Daniel just loses his shit. And I think that he realizes, like, I cannot die by Kingpin, so BB's got to go. I think he's just going to lose his shit, and I think he's just going to, try to commit a murderous crime to BB. That's what I think is going to happen the most, versus him becoming a version of Richard Fisk and, try to become the Kingpin. I think they're just going to not go that route, because I think Richard Fisk, that's just a character I'm sure they'd rather just cast somebody else and find an actor who could be that character. And I'm not saying this character, Daniel Blake, couldn't, but I know a lot of people think that, but I just don't see Kevin Feige approving that. So I got to go with option 2. I just think Daniel's going to lose his shit. I think he's going to attack BB. And, I don't think she's going to make it. I think she's going to be eliminated by Daniel. That's what I think. Now, also in this episode, too, we see that Vanessa's laying down, wide awake in bed, and there's a blue rose. Now, this is obviously foreshadowing Bullseye, but seeing that she has this vivid dream and stuff, and I thought the fog scene was cool, because the fog was like going reverse in a way, and you see Bullseye Poindexter, with a gun basically pointing at her, and she wakes up, but Vanessa is scared. Vanessa doesn't want to lose. Vanessa has a plan. So this scenario can't go down. But I honestly, man, it's tough. It's tough, because that was a weird dream, because when she woke up, the rose was red. Right? And now remember I said, I just said earlier that I don't believe that Daniel, as far as the showrunners, as far as Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige, I don't think they want to just give the Richard Fisk stories to Daniel. But the fact that we saw a red rose is kind of foreshadowing it. So there is clues and evidence that could be it if you're just watching it. But I just want to point that out. That's why I don't want people to think I'm just talking crazy about it. But the way they blend that scene with the dream of Vanessa having a dream about Bullseye, shooting her, in the face, basically. It was just a way to kind of get you guessing, like what's going on for the diehard fans. So I thought that was pretty interesting, but I just don't have a lot of faith in that. And for me, I think that rose going from blue to red is just foreshadowing probably the death of Vanessa Fisk. I think, like, because this show would have to probably add more episodes to explain how someone like Vanessa Fisk could dodge and avoid Bullseye, even though he's been watching her. You know, he was spying on her throughout this time. So, I don't know. That's a long-term story, but I think that it would have to find a really good reason why, where the audience would accept it. So it's gonna be a little tough, but I gotta believe that Vanessa Fisk is gonna be killed off the show soon, at this season, for sure. Now, also in this episode, too, the action starts picking up, and Daredevil is laying the smackdown on the task force, and he's knocking them out. And at the end of this episode, Karen has a task force captured, and she was probably like, instead of them hunting them, we'll hunt them type thing, and that's how this episode ended. Now, this is an interesting thing. So let's start out with the first topic, Karen. Karen now is showing it's an interesting side now they're gonna leave as a cliffhanger, is that this is a task force character from season 1 who's against some of the choices that they made in Daredevil's Born Against season 1, and now he's captured. But what's interesting is Karen is, when she said that quote, it reminded me of Frank Castle Punisher. And now I feel like it's a weird love triangle that they're trying to put in this show. And at first, from episode 1, I thought they were going a complete different direction and just ignoring Frank Castle. But I think, to me, though, I guess we're just seeing now her saying, screw the justice system. And so now Daredevil has to remind her, like, hey, we don't kill. Right? Like, and I think that's what freaks him out. And I think now, again, this is gonna put a strain in their relationship. So maybe they're breaking up. Maybe they're gonna break up. Who knows? But that's an interesting way to leave those two on it. And I just thought, okay, something's going down. Like, because I was a little nervous. Like, are they really gonna be official? Because the one thing I believe makes only sense for Daredevil to have a relationship right now is with Elektra. I think Karen and Frank Castle love relationship, I should say, is going to work better where they're going with this. I just believe that. I think Elektra needs to I think she's showing up this season, so that's just me. Now, so that's why I can see, like, now this Karen personality is just changing all suddenly this quick, is now making sense to me, would be, again, Elektra. Now let's talk about Vanessa Fisk and Heather Glenn. Who do I rather see be written off into a murderous way from this show? And I think the death of Vanessa Fisk makes more sense because she's showing that she's scared in this lifestyle that she's living with her husband. Because she wants to leave New York, and Mayor Fitz, he ain't trying to leave. He's like, New York's my home. She mentioned about going to this island that he owns. But he's like, I don't like the sand on my feet type thing. What an Anakin Skywalker reference. But I just think I'd rather see that happen, because then you would put Kingpin on the edge of his tipping point where he becomes more ruthless, more aggressive, more savage. And that would make it more interesting to see and more entertaining to watch. So I think Bullseye has to get her. I'd rather see that versus the death of Heather Glenn, a.k.a. Dr. Glenn. I think, because I know they're doing a season 3 of Daredevil Born Again, I would love to see her in long-term story as the female version of Moose, whether it's in season 3 of Daredevil Born Again or in another Marvel movie or a Marvel Disney Plus series. Like, this is a character I would love to see just do bad things to her victims and see a superhero, street level superhero, stop her. Like, this is why I hate to bring up Elektra, but if they just did a Elektra special, like they're doing for Punisher, and it's like her taking on Dr. Glenn as the new Moose, that would be so sick and fun, and it'd just be female versus female. I mean, there's so much story you can tell. I think that's why I'd rather see the death of Vanessa Fisk be told in this season, because I think I just like the idea of a female version of Moose, and there's so much story they can tell out of it. There's not a lot of stories you can tell with Vanessa Fisk realistically. There's only a few more. Like, okay, wouldn't mind watching her team up with Valentine from the movie Thunderbolts and stuff, but it would just be another political movie with secret agents and stuff and task force, which is cool, like, but somebody would have to take them down, and it's usually going to be Daredevil. But with Heather Glenn, there's an amazing, unique story that the MCU can tell that just would be super awesome. I can just imagine her, Elektra, Kate Bishop, Miss Marvel. There's so much potential. Why I'd rather go that unique route. I'm just saying, everybody. Just think about it. And then let's talk about my last topic, White Tiger, a.k.a. Angela Del Torres. I think, again, they really are setting up the young Avengers. And I would love to see Ms. Marvel and Kate Bishop interact with this girl. I truly believe now they're gonna let her wear the White Tiger suit. Her version of it. And I think there's so much more. Like, they'd be crazy not to just start planting the seeds in this season with that. That's what I'm hoping. That's what I got out of it, because she's a character. This is a character you can team up with Spider-Man. This is a character you can team up with Ms. Marvel in a season 2, or Kate Bishop Hawkeye series season 2. Like, there's so much. Like, I just been crazy. Or even Ironheart. Why couldn't she just drive down or fly down to Chicago and do Ironheart season 2? Like, it's just so much you can do. That'd be crazy not to go with. Like, people would be excited to see young, upcoming superheroes, and watch the older OG Avenger characters pass the torch. Like, that would be awesome. So, I'm just saying, I'm just saying with that. But this episode, honestly, it wasn't very action packed. It was very more dialogue and stuff, and more dramatic and stuff. And it was a slow paced tone, but it was so good. It's so good because it balances out the series of season 2. It ties in a lot, and it answers a lot of questions from from episode 1. But also it's like hyping up episode 3, which I believe is going to be more all action. It's going to be all gas and no brakes. So this one, to me, as far as everybody just performing in this is a 10 out of 10. For episode 2, I'm giving it a 10. Really, honestly, everything is placed. I love just how everybody was in the right place, right spot. I love the way that each of these characters are going to have a bigger role in this show, in this series. And you don't know, everybody has another agenda within their main agenda. So there's a hidden thing that everybody wants, and we don't know where everybody's going, and it's very mysterious. And that's what I like about this. So that is my spoiler review. Thank you all so much. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talking Entertainment Official Channel. Subscribe, hit that notification button so you can always be updated with all my latest content. Thank you guys, and peace out.